push through and punch through a vision with passion, a vision with passion. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Purpose by Design podcast. I am Pamela Hinkle, and I'm so glad that you are here today. In fact, I am sitting across the Zoom table, the coffee table, as we were talking about, only I'm drinking tea. And we're just having girl time today. And I'm having girl time with one of my new but very good friends. We have just gelled. We have so much in common. And I am excited to introduce to you Angelica Love. Don't you love her name, Love? I just love. Angelica, I want to tell everybody a little bit about you, and then I want you to just jump in and, fill in the holes of what I might have, in my excitement, kind of blown over. Fill in the missing places for me in your introduction. So what really drew me to you was your energy. You have such excitement for not just yourself, but for other people. Like when I connected with you, I felt like you and I meshed because you were more interested in what I'm doing and helping me, and I was more interested in what you were doing and helping you. And it was like this really awesome game of tennis, but there was no competition. It was just teaming up, sisterhood. And I find you to be amazing. And I just want to say that. And so Angelica, she is a transformation coach, which means if you come into her life, you will be transformed. So yeah. She also is a holistic healer and a holistic coach. So that means not only transforming your mindset, but we were just talking before we started recording about how some different things have been going on in our lives, and we're making some different even dietary changes and things. But she has such a knowledge, like you could bring any situation to her and she's going to be able to give you some holistic ideas of how to just use what really God has given to us to bring healing naturally into our body. And that is powerful. And one of my other favorite things about you, honey, is that you are a powerhouse. I mean, you don't let any grass grow under your feet anywhere. You are a mover and a shaker. You are a powerhouse of a businesswoman, a speaker, a coach, a mama. I mean, you just go. And in a world that would try to say, because of your gender or because of your ethnicity, like there's limitations, you are one of those people that have said, no, I don't think so. You say I can't, I'm telling you, not only I can, I will. And that is you. And that has just drawn me to you because I like surrounding myself with people who don't take no for an answer and that just want to take the world by storm to change it for his glory, right? To bring the goodness that's in each of our lives, that people would fulfill why they're here, right? And you have really just been a blessing to my life. And to the listeners here today, you are going to be so glad that you're here. So get your paper out, get your pen out, or turn on your app on your phone or your iPad or whatever to take some notes. Make sure you download this or you mark it in YouTube or wherever you're watching or listening so that you can come back and listen again and again, because this is one of those that you're going to want to do that. So without going on and rambling anymore, because I could talk about you forever, which I think I've already shown, I want to give you a chance to fill in some of those blanks of what I said when I'm talking all about you. So please jump in, Angelica.
Wonderful. Thank you for this. This is such an amazing time, and I'm so excited to be here to be able to share this. Pamela, you are phenomenal, and I thank you for just even allowing me to be here to share a little bit of my story about what I do and how I do it. And as you said earlier, you talked about me doing holistic. Oh my goodness, holistic is such a wonderful component because in the holistic world that I play in is learning how to play in all four levels or four areas. And that is the mental, the spiritual, the physical, as well as the emotional. But then there's a secret one that most people don't talk about, and that is the ethereal. And that's higher than all of the other realms, but most time we don't really look into that. And most time we don't even really think about our mental or our emotional or our spiritual world, which is really, it's really our creativity. Spirituality is our creativity, our imagination, the way that we visualize, the way that we perceive everything. And sometimes we don't go into that depth because we're so focused on the physical world. And then when we have dis-ease or when they call dis-ease or calls not having ease in the body or ease is because or an ease in our physical world is because of these three major parts, which is our mental, our emotional, as well as our spiritual, which is our creativity. And so when we work on those components on ourselves, then our physical world changes. It has no other thing because they're an imprint. And see, I had to learn that, which is why I do transformational coaching. And when I do transformational coaching, it's understanding I'm not just doing transformation, I'm doing what people call me a heart alchemist. Because what we're doing is we're changing one substance into something different. We're going through what they call metamorphosis. When you go from being a caterpillar to being a butterfly, when you go from living one way of life to living something new, becoming a new being, a new identity, or let's say beyond identity, you step into your essence. So you take on a new identity to a new definition. And that is what I do component of that. And a lot of this stuff I learned from my family or from it is from my family. My family taught me a lot about what it is to be holistic. But then I learned some new things along the way, and I took different classes and expanded on that because I really wanted to know more about the component of food, not even just food, the way we think, the way that we maneuver, why do we do the things that we do? Like, what is our biggest why? And that was something of the reason I went in the direction I have gone.
Wow, that's powerful. Now, if I remember correctly, the last time we spoke, you mentioned that you had like an in-home garden. Is that right?
Yes, I have an in-home garden.
I love that.
Yes, and it's one of my babies. It's my baby. I will tell you that it's definitely my baby. And so it's growing and it's getting bigger every day. Every time because we always bring something in. But the reason I've had to create a home garden is because both of my children are sensitive to foods. And so by having one child that's a little bit more sensitive to food, I had to be very careful how food was being brought in based on some of her sensitivities. And so it just made it easier for me to make a home garden. And at the same time, I didn't realize how relaxing having my own home garden was, being able to put my hands in the soil, being able to talk to my plants. The thing about it is, see, your plant is a reflection of you. So the kind things that I would say to my plant made my plants grow. They even grow stronger. They even go bigger. My fruits are really ripe. But I didn't know that until I started doing it. So every time I think about my plants, I think about myself. And the thing that we started with, let me tell you the funny thing that we started with, because I love this. So when we first started our garden, we decided we wanted to grow pineapples.
Okay.
That was our first fruit. And so we have some pineapples are still growing, but the two original pineapples, they're sitting in, we have these huge pots, and they're glass pots. And we've had them they've been growing for over 5 years. Wow. So those roots are now really long inside of these clear pots. But I've never planted those two in the ground because what I wanted to see was, I had watched a video and they said, well, if you put the pineapple in water, it will eventually the head of the pineapple, which is the leaf, if you put that in water, it will sprout. And at first I'm like, I don't think that's really going to work. That's not really, you have that thought, that doubt, like, I don't really think that's going to work. We're going to try and see. So we're going to do two of them at the same time and see if they actually really work. And they did. And then after they grew, I was like, I can't put them in the ground now. I said, they're my babies. And my children are like, well, what are we going to do with them? Well, we're just going to keep them in pots and we'll just keep watering them. And then we'll do other ones. And so we have so many plants, and it's wonderful. I love them all. They're all my babies.
I love that. And I love that story about the pineapple. That's adorable. We love pineapple over here at the Hinkle home, but I haven't tried to grow any. You're kind of inspiring me here.
It is a little challenging, but you know what? Once you learn it, it's easy. It becomes easy. It becomes effortless, and you become consistent at doing it. And it's fun. And what for me, it was a project that I wanted to do with my children because I homeschooled my children. And I wanted to create a project for them in the garden so that they get comfortable of being able to know how to garden on their own. And so that was a fun activity. And they were actually able to see how even when we speak we speak to the plant. Well, it's not even that we just spoke to the plant. We started studying this gentleman named Dr. Emoto. And Dr. Emoto has this, he talks about how water holds memory.
Yes.
And so when we started doing this, I wanted them to understand, I wanted them to know how water holds memory, but at the same time, the power of plants, because there's a movie out, The Power of Plants, where they talk about how plants hold energy and that you can say things and it can affect the plant. So we were watching both of these movies at the same time. And I said, well, we're going to create this experiment because I know this is possible, but I needed them to see that it was possible.
Right.
And so we did that together. And so we spoke to the plants every day. We had conversations with the water. We put on each of they were in these little cute little jars at first, about that big. And each of them had a word on them. And so it had 4 words on them. And then we would come and we would say things about, we would say that, you know, you're lovely, you're wonderful. And we would speak that to that plant. But at the same time, as we were speaking to that plant, my children and I, we were also reflecting that for ourselves.
Back on you.
Yeah. So it was fun. I tell you, have fun with it. You should do it. It's a great experiment.
That sounds like a great experiment. I wrote that down. Well, I'm very familiar with Dr. Emoto and also that video, The Power of Plants. And I think that's a great idea. And, you know, just playing off of that, our own bodies are mostly water, right? So if a little ice crystal molecule will change either in beauty or in something really ugly.
Yes, and because that's the thing they don't tell you. They don't tell us that the issue is in the tissue. And the reason that the issues in our bodies and our tissue is because the blood has to circulate through our tissue and it gets stuck. That means energy gets stuck somewhere. And that energy is because of what's happening with us mentally, what's happening with us emotionally, what's happening with us spiritually. And when we don't have balance, or not even, let's go past balance, let's go to harmony.
I like that.
When we have harmony within ourselves, that means our inner conversation that we're saying to ourselves, as well as our exterior conversation, matches. But when they don't match, that means there's imbalance. That means there's not harmony. And I had to really come to learn that for myself, and I'm still learning it, because what they say is that by the time we are 8 years old, we've already taken in about 25,000 bits of information, beliefs, ideas. All these things are seeds, what we call seed sentences, okay? So there could be a seed sentence of talking about joy, enthusiasm, love, happiness. Then there you could have a seed sentence that's talking about sadness and, you know, doubt and fear. You can have one that's trust, the opposite. But these are seed sentences that we all have within us. And each time that we do certain things in our mental, our emotional, our spiritual world, we are watering those seeds, and those seeds will produce and show fruit. And we will see that fruit on our physical world or in our body. But see, most time we're not aware of that. And they say that we have over 70,000 thoughts in a day. But this is what's beautiful about these 70,000 thoughts in a day. Okay. Beautiful, and at the same time, some people might not say it is that beautiful, but I think it's quite fascinating. I'm curious more about it because I learn more about it every day. Is that we have 5% of our thoughts out of that 70,000 is 3,500 are new thoughts. That means 95% of our thoughts, which is 66,500, are of the past.
Wow.
So what we're doing is we're relooping stories, sentences, things that happened when we were 8, things that happened when we were 10, things that happened when we were 15. And sometimes we're not even conscious of that. We are replaying those ideas or those attitudes, okay? And that's when Dr. Motos talks about the blood, because it talks about water. Well, since 90% of our body is made up of water, well, our blood is water.
Right.
So what we're taking in, we're nurturing. So we have to look at, okay, what are we taking in? And when the word nurture is something, word nurture doesn't just mean what it actually means. It means what are we feeding ourselves? But most people think, okay, when you said feed is what we're eating, the food that we're eating. The food that we're eating is only 1% of that. We have to talk about all of our senses. What are we taking through our eyes? What are we taking in through our ears? What are we taking in through our when we smell? What are we feeling? What are we thinking? because all of that stuff we are digesting, we're nurturing ourselves. That means we're nurturing the blood within us. We're nurturing the water within us.
Right. Right.
And then when we come to know that, we can look at things a little different. Oh, then we come, this is the thing, is becoming courageous enough to become the observer, the spectator, as well as the noticer of our own thoughts. Because of our thoughts in the environment that we're around, that we're in, from the books that we read, from the television shows that we watch, from the people that we surround ourselves with, from the things that we eat, are they nurturing the best out of us, or are they nurturing the worst out of us?
Oh, that's so good.
You know, are they nurturing good things, or are they nurturing us to cause us to have suffering, where we're judging and we're in anxiety and we're in doubt?
Right. Right.
And that all has to do with what's happening in us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, because this is where stagnation happens. And that stagnation amplifies in the physical world.
Right.
So then you got to take a look at that. And that's what thing about dealing with holistic. Holistic came as the understanding of balance in all areas, balance in your body, mind, and soul. Having harmony in your mental, your physical, your emotional, as well as your mental, physical, emotion, as well as your spiritual. But then people also can break it down in categories. We have 13 categories in our system that we work on. And those 13 categories we break down, we have to really discover, uncover, explore, experience, and express something new. So because we all have relationships. We have a relationship with how we have a relationship with ourselves. We have a relationship with how we have with our significant others. We have a relationship with how we have with food, with money, with books that we read. Any book that you pick up and you read, you have a relationship with it, because now it's taking your time and your energy.
Right. So true.
And so even when you watch a movie, what happens is you're still digesting something. So what are you digesting? What are you taking in? What is it triggering? And then that's when you become aware of what's happening within yourself. And you see how the outer world talks about that. And there's a gentleman that you can look up. His name is Neville Goddard. I just love him. If you ever get to look him up. And he talks about the power of the imagination. He says, awaken imagination. And he tells you how the world is an outprint of what's happening internally inside of you. Wow. And when you start and I remember when I came across him almost 15 years ago. And I was at first, when I was, first, sometimes when you're reading something that's not part of your comfort zone or not part of your belief system, it makes you it jogs you a little bit, because you're like, right. I don't know. I don't really know if that is. Right. But then as you start to study it, and not even just study it, learn it and then practice it, you start to realize, you realize what you have embraced. And so let me give you a component about the word embrace. The word embrace is the most beautiful word. I think it's beautiful, because when I realized at one point in my life, when I would embrace, I thought about embrace was to hug someone tight, which it is. But embrace has synonyms and it has antonyms. I most likely focus on the synonyms. So a synonym for embrace means to accept. Well, I hadn't realized in my own mindset of the things I had accepted as true. Not saying it was true, but it was someone's opinion. Think about this. How many times have you accepted something that was someone's opinion, but you never questioned yourself if it was 100% true?
Wow.
But you automatically said it was true, because that's what that person said, because why? You trusted that person.
Right.
So automatically you accepted that person was right, but never saying, is that 100% true for me? Is that 100% true for the situation? And then you never ask the person, can you prove that's 100% true? And automatically they'll tell you, no, they can't. They can't tell you if it's 100% true. They can't say that. But because you trust them and you trust their guidance, you accept it. So you got to think about how many goals and dreams that you really wanted to achieve in life, or things that you really want to do, but you might have told someone, a friend or a family member, about your imagination, something that you were imagining for yourself. And they told you, well, I don't know if that's really possible.
Right.
And automatically, what did you do? You accepted. You was like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe, they did probably are right. But you just did some, you basically stopped trusting in yourself.
Mm.
Stop trusting that your dream was possible because it was given to you. Albert Einstein said it the best. He said, imagination is a preview of coming attraction. Your dream is a preview of a coming attraction.
Yes.
But then we're told in scripture, by him, all things are made, and without him was not anything that was made. Well, that means your dream is definitely possible because if you look at everything in this world, it was once just an idea in the imagination.
Right.
Because you was, just as I was just an idea and imagination, and now we're here, we're alive. So if we're alive, that means our dream is possible too.
Yes.
There goes another word, that's embrace. Means to be, it's possible. Also, which means to support. Are you supporting your dreams? Are you supporting what is possible? Are you supporting what is great? Are you living in a world of optimism or pessimism? And see, optimism comes from the word optim, which means the best of all things, the greatest of all things, the greatest good in all things. Are you looking at that? Or are you looking at the pessimistic aspect of looking for the worst case scenario? And if we look at a chain of events that happen, even it's happening in this world right now, and we look from today 100 years past and backwards. We look at, and I won't even say the people say history. Okay, well, let's get past history. Let's look at the past records.
Okay.
If we look at the past records, we have been conditioned to automatically look for what? The worst case scenario.
Right.
We're always looking for the worst case. You cut on the television, you hear the worst case scenario. You go on a certain social media, you're just like, it's bombarded. We're always looking for the worst thing to happen.
Right.
So what if we have been conditioned from childhood to always look for the best thing to happen? And if you look at children don't see the worst thing. They see the world as a wonder, and there's so many good things that are going to happen until someone comes along and tells them different. They're always in their imagination, always playing. That's why we're told in scripture, be imitators of dear children.
Yes, that's right.
We don't get that, but children what are they doing? They're always living their imagination. They're always dreaming these great big dreams. They literally take you out of space to different planets. And you be looking at them like, but then you forget because you've taken on this adult role, these adult responsibilities, that one time you also were a child and you also had those imagination components. But because they look at an adult as trustworthy, so when an adult comes and tells them that that dream is not possible, automatically, what do? They follow suit because that's what's said. But now think about all the dreams that that someone told you could do. But more importantly, think about the things that you told yourself that you can do. And I had to look at those things because there was a lot of things I told myself, and so I embraced, accepted, supported what people told me that wasn't possible. Then this is the biggest thing. I have to sit back and laugh. Not even the fact that I trusted it, I celebrated that if that was so.
Right.
Because all my actions celebrated that I could not live this specific lifestyle. So if you think about all the things that you haven't been able to do, but at the moment you make a decision, you define something different. And there's a thing when you asked me, you talked about your purpose. What is your purpose design?
Yes.
Well, this is what I had to come to accept, and not even accept, and just appreciate and fall in love with. My purpose is that I'm alive. I'm designed to do great things. I was already designed from the moment. This is the thing. From the moment you took your first breath, from the moment I took my first breath, from the moment we all took our first breath into this world, we were already designed for greatness. See, there's two parts of the respiratory system that most of us are not even aware about. We know that we have a breath. We know we inhale and we know we exhale. But this is the two parts. When you inhale, it's called inspiration. When you exhale, it's called expiration. At the moment you took that inspiration, you became the image of God. If you look up the word, if you go to the etymology of the word inspiration, it means that you became the presence of God. That means you blew life on. You blew spirit into, inspired by. That's what that word means.
Yes.
So you already are the greatest form of life. But
Yes.
till someone came along and taught us something different because they didn't know who they were. So your purpose is already the fact that you're alive. You could design the life to live any way you want to live. And the best part about it is if you get a chance to look up this gentleman, his name is Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell talks about the hero's journey. This is amazing concept. Amazing concept when he talks about the hero's journey. And it talks about the 12 cycles that we have to go through in everyday life to become a hero in our own lives, but be able to come back to our community and talk about all the things that we went through to show the community how they can also be a hero as well. But this is one of the quotes that he says. He says, life has no meaning. Each of us have meaning, and we bring it to life.
Oh, I love that.
He said, it's a waste of time to ask a question when you are the answer to your question.
Wow.
When I read that, I was like, I'm the answer to my question. Because what he's saying is, there is no separation in what you're trying to achieve in life. If you desire better health, well, the only way you can get to better health is through who? With you. You have to get there. You have to grow yourself there. If you want extraordinary love, you cannot have extraordinary love without you. You want to increase your finances, or increase your having abundance of money flowing to you and coming to you. Well, the only way you can do that is with you. You can't do it without you, because you are the key to you're the key to your own secrets. You're the key to your own life. Your hidden potential is you, because you are the potential.
Right.
The only person has to know how great you are, and the person that has to remind ourselves how great we are is ourselves. And I had to learn that, because before I had this idea that I needed my family to validate me, or I needed friends to validate me. And when you come in from a holistic world, you realize the person that has to validate you the most is you. That's why Dr. Emoto's work was so powerful, even though he has transitioned into another place, but his work will live on, because what he's telling you is that the water within you, your blood, your inner conversation, the component of all that you are, once you come to know your essence and appreciate your presence, your language change, your inner language, your mother tongue, how you talk to yourself. Because we're told if a man orders his conversation right, I could show you him the salvation of God. Once you know that you can change your inner conversation, you can create a better way that you talk to yourself, then the outer world will show you. And that is what holistic healing is about. It's realizing how you can heal yourself, and not even just heal yourself, how you can nurture yourself from inside outward. And that's what you do.
Powerful.
That's when you go through a metamorphosis, because you literally, if you've seen who I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'm not the same person. I literally had to reshape, rescope myself. I went into cocoon, and we see, there's the thing, when a caterpillar goes into a cocoon or a chrysalis, its shell, what happens, it becomes liquid. It becomes like water. And it reshapes and it remolds and it resculpts itself. And the thing about it is that it has wings. See, the thing about it, the wings are so powerful in the caterpillar that most of us don't even realize the beauty of the wings. The butterfly needs the wings to be able to get out of the chrysalis or the cocoon. So what it does, it beats its wings, and it keeps beating it because it needs the blood, the water, to flow through the wings to make the wings strong enough to break through the chrysalis.
Wow.
But if you come along, or someone comes along and they think that the butterfly is struggling to get out of its cocoon, to get out of its old self, we're told in scripture, you know this, when it talks about putting off the old man,
right,
and being renewed in the new man, if it comes along and we come along and try to help it to get out of its old self, guess what happens to the butterfly? It falls to the ground and it never flies.
Wow.
Because it needs the fluid, it needs the water, it needs the blood to go through the wings, to circulate the wings so that it can able to flap its wings, and it gets stronger. Every time it beats that cocoon, every time it beats its wings, it cracks the cocoon open. It cracks that chrysalis open to where then at that point it can climb out. But now it knows it has the strength within its wings to what? To hover, take off. Soar, to stretch out, we talk about soar, which means to stretch out and rise above who it had been at one point.
Right. Wow.
And that's what the butterfly does. And that's a form of metamorphosis, when you stretch out and rise above who you have been, the way that you were thinking, the way that you were feeling, to go where you've never gone before, to do what you've never done before, to have what you've never had before, to be who you've never been before, to create what you've never created before, and to make what you've never made before. And that's a metamorphosis. That's what we do. It's so much fun. I could talk about this all day long because I have so much fun doing this. Because when I took my journey, my adventure on this, and I really don't say journey, but I say an adventure because it has been an adventure. Every day it gets better and better because I get to discover, uncover, explore, experience, yes, and express a new aspect of myself. Some things that I didn't even know about. I'm like, my son just came to me and he told me, he said, "Mom, we're learning Japanese." We are? Okay. So I'm like, okay, so why? You know, I'm like, why are we learning Japanese? This is what he said. It's funny. I have to laugh about it. He said, because once we're able to travel again and the corona is, you know, in the better position, he said, we're going to go to Japan.
Awesome.
We are? Why are we going to Japan? This is the reason he wants to go to Japan. He said, because we can go go-kart racing in the streets of Japan, and we can wear Mario costumes and different costumes, Disney costumes, and ride around and go go-kart racing.
All
what
right.
do you think about that? I said, you know what? That is so cool. I would have never thought about that in a million years. Right. But I said, but I would be cool. He said, I thought you would think that. I said, yeah, I would think something. Because that would be fun. I don't know where he got that from. But I'm like, now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I got to get really good at go-kart racing. I said, we got to go practice. Cause I'm like, I got to be good. If we're going to be racing each other, I have to win.
I love it.
Because I would never be able to live that down if my children were to win.
Right.
They'd be like, Mom, you remember how we beat you? Mm-hmm. Because they say every time you play a game with them, they always talk about how they won. And you be like, man, I got to get better. You know, right. but and it's not, you know, people might think it's competition. It's really not. It's so much fun because you get to create good memories. Right. And that's another thing about when you study holistic lifestyle, it's creating what is the lifestyle that you want to create? What are the memories that you want to create? Right. When your past memories are no longer as powerful as the present memories that you want to create, or your future memories. Okay. And that's something that we also learned, and I had to learn too. So I gave that was a tidbit because that was so fun to talk about.
Oh my gosh, this has been so rich. Okay, so I have a couple of notes that I wrote down that I just want to reiterate for our listeners. And the first one was that when you digest so much more than your food, like, you know, you get and grasp that, you know, we'll spend time maybe planning out our dietary needs, or you know, saying, okay, let's chew each piece of food, you know, don't inhale your food, don't get that big gas bubble in your tummy, but to literally think about that you are digesting everything that's coming in, the eye gates, the ear gates, what you're saying, it's all everything you're feeling, the people, the situations, this, oh my gosh.
Yeah, your environment. Think about this. You have zip codes, right?
Yes.
Everyone has zip codes. Have you ever noticed that when you're driving through your city, each zip code looks different? It feels different.
Sure.
Even the food tastes is different. Sure. The way the trees look, the way the buildings look, the painting, all of that all of that's different. But you can go into one zip code And all of a sudden you feel this ease.
Mm.
Your body is your body is relaxed.
Sure.
You're feeling calm. But then you can go to another, and now you have worry, and you're feeling down, you're stressed, and you're not even knowing why. But it's because the environment is producing that. So everyone in that environment is sending that out.
Yeah.
And there's a good thing you can look up. You can look up this company. It's called Heart Math, and they talk about it. And they talk about how the heart resonates out, the energy that the body is producing out. And we're all feeling that. We're all absorbing that. We're all taking that in.
Mm.
And when you realize, okay, well, if I'm taking that in, when you go to when you go to a restaurant or you go to a friend's house, depending on their mood, that energy is going into your food.
Right. Yes.
And when I came to realize that, I was like, hold up. So you're telling me somebody that might not be in a great place is touching my food, and I'm going to digest that? You know what? That's why we got a home garden. Because I became very aware of that. And if I don't have it in my garden, I go to local farmers, and I go to different farmers because I need to talk to them and see who they are and what they do and why they do what they do, because that energy is going to go into my food. I'm going to digest that. And when that food comes to my plate, then it's like we're taught to put energy into that food. Just put your energy into that food, put your love into that food. And that's why my grandmother and them always play really good music while they're cooking. They're in a really happy place. They're always happy, laughing. And I used to think something was wrong with them at one point, because I'm like, why are you laughing? What is wrong with you people? But what they were doing is they would tell me, we're getting ready to feed you our energy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how are you feeding? You have that look. I'm looking at them like, I think it's something. But that was the truth. They would feed it the energy because they knew that. And the reason I say this because something you might not know about me is that even though I look African American, but I'm also Native American. My family we come from a tribe. And so I watched these women do certain things. And I was like, well, I didn't know that. And automatically, because I had learned that method or that way of expressing, automatically I do that in my household.
See.
Unconsciously, not even thinking about it. Because I'm like, oh, we got to put music on. We got to dance. And my children, they just look at me now. They laugh at me because they said, Mommy, my mom's a little goofy. But I am all day long. But, those things. But then the television shows that you watch, why are you watching it? Like, okay, think about this. You have a radio, you listen to music in your car. And let's say you're feeling sad, you're feeling something. And all of a sudden, the song comes on and it talks about why you're sad. And it tells you about your story. And you're like, I can relate to that. And every song after that is all expressing about you being sad. Mm-hmm. But when you're feeling good, all of a sudden you hear songs that talk about good things. But think about something. If you're in a joyful place and you're feeling good about life, and something comes on the radio talking about there's something that you don't want to feel, what happens? What do? You change the station.
Right.
Because I don't want to feel that. I'm great. I'm feeling good. I don't want to hear about somebody having a heartbreak. But that's the thing. We can determine what we choose to listen to and what we choose not to listen to. What we choose to watch and what we choose not to watch. And it's funny because like some of my clients, I'll tell them they might not be feeling the best. And I'll say, okay, well, you know what? Go watch a movie that's talking about feeling good.
Yeah.
That's going to make you laugh. And I guarantee you, after you watch that movie for 45 minutes to an hour, however long that movie is, you won't be thinking about what you're thinking about right now.
Absolutely.
And you don't. If you're feeling sad, you put on something that makes you laugh. All of a sudden, when you get through with it, you're not holding that energy as powerful at one point that you're holding. Some of that energy is let up. And then you start laughing at yourself because you're like, well, why am I thinking about that? Because now you're becoming aware of your own, you're becoming aware, the observer, the noticer, and the spectator of your own thoughts. They're realizing, oh, because I'm thinking this thing, I'm causing myself to suffer. And that was something that Dr. Emoto also talked about like you spoke earlier, Pam, when you talked about how he put stuff in Petri discs. Yes. And you could tell, and what he did was he put classical music on.
Yep.
when he put the water in these petri discs and he would freeze them, and when he put the picture, when he would get the picture back, the classical music would have a beautiful snowflake.
Yes.
But then when he put certain type of metal, heavy metal rock on, and he would freeze that with the water, it would come out. It would be
Chaos.
chaos.
Yeah.
And then what he did was he took words and phrases and he froze them. And he said, when you say "I love me," it makes a snowflake. It makes a pattern. But when you say "I don't like me," it's chaos. Mm-hmm. So that means what's happening in the body.
Right.
What's happening internally within ourselves, when our mental, our emotional, which that means now people don't realize that you can have one person that shows up in your life and they can say something toxic. They can say a negative thing to you, and you will hold on that thought for a week, for a month, for a year.
Yeah.
And then wondering, okay, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? Well, you feel this way because you have a thought that you're holding on to that you haven't willing to let go yet. And that's something that happens with our inner world. We have beliefs and ideas based off of things that we have learned over the years. There's some things that we just haven't let go, and we're not even aware of it until something triggers it. And then you're like, oh, and then you become aware of it.
Oh, and you are so full of wisdom.
Just we're both full of wisdom. We did this. Yeah, it's so much fun.
You are great. So another thing that I wrote down here, and then I want to hear about your businesses, but the scripture says the life is in the blood. Okay, you were talking about that. You brought that scripture home today, sister. You brought that home about the blood and water. And oh my gosh, I was like, I wrote it here and I circled it, and wow.
It is. It is.
The life in the blood. This is huge, huge, huge. So,
because it's energy. When you understand it's energy. Words hold energy. They are the water that feeds us, that nurtures us. Yes. Our words are our water. They're watering. And this is the biggest thing about it. This is what things that people must come to not just know, but to appreciate.
Yes.
You have a seed, and what do you plant in it? Where do you plant the seed at?
In the soil.
In soil. But the soil was also called the earth, right?
Yes.
So what is an anagram for earth?
An anagram for earth. Tell us.
Heart.
Heart.
So what we do is we plant a seed in what our heart, that's what we're told. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of them are the issues of life. Yes. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Mm-hmm. Because we are nurturing the seeds that we plant within ourselves, within our heart. Mm. So there's no the body is no separation from the earth. We just we were told it's separation. But when you transition, you go back to what? You go back to dust. You go back to the earth.
That's right. That's right.
So your heart, the first sound that we hear 14 days after conception is what? The heart. Then everything else grows around that.
Yes, it's beautiful.
So it's beautiful. Always knowing that we're keeping our heart, which is our imagination, with all diligence. We're keeping our self-talk, the words, everything, our environment. Because you wouldn't go, if you wouldn't, I know I wouldn't. I'm not going through some garbage on the ground. I'm gonna pick it up and put it in the trash, but I'm not gonna just go through it, and I'm just not gonna do that. I'm not gonna live in that. That's not happening. Right. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean it up and make it look neat. Well, that's the same thing within ourselves. You have to clean up yourself. You got to pull out the weeds. And sometimes some weeds are not bad. Like a dandelion is not bad. People consider dandelion bad. Do you know how much healing power is in a dandelion?
Right.
Just down from the roots to the stem, to the leaves, to the bulb, there's so much power in it. It has so much medicine in it. But what we do is because someone told us it's a weed, it's not healthy. No, the roots help with the liver. They help purify the blood. The leaves help with the kidney. It helps so the body's able to move properly. And there was a majority of Native Americans that dandelion is very powerful. They use it. They were using it thousands of years ago because they used the healing power in there. My great grandmother used to make dandelion beer. because
Okay.
she knew that, and they used to eat a lot of dandelions, or even eating the dandelion, the leaf, because it has a bitter in it. That means it's gonna purify the blood. It's gonna do things in the body. And before I was like, I don't know if I want to eat that. Now I eat it all the time. And people are like, why you eat it? I'm like, look, I'm right now, I need this right now.
Right.
And so it's funny because I remember when I gave it to, funny thing, I gave dandelion to my daughter when she was really little. Not to laugh. And she was like 4, and I put it, I said, hi, eat the dandelion leaf. And her face expression, she's like, because she had been eating spinach. So she thought the dandelion had the same taste as the spinach. And when she was eating, her face, I just laugh, got to think about her face expression. But her face expression, like, what is this? Now she'll eat it. She's 14 now, so she's been eating it for a pretty time. So, but every time I think about it, I'd be like, remember when you ate that? She's like, no, I don't remember that. I was only 4. But it's funny because it is bitter. It has a bitter taste to it, and you have to get used to eating it. But once you get used to eating it, you will see the difference in your body. It's a beautiful, I just love it. I love plants.
I have heard that about dandelions. I can't say that I have done, I need to stretch out in that arena. I've had the tea, but I haven't done the whole dandelion.
Okay, so have you done when you say the dandelion, have you done the root or you have done the leaf?
No, the top, the top.
The bud. Okay, the bud, yeah. Because
that's what I use.
Because you can even, they have roasted, it's called roasted dandelion. You can get roasted dandelion, and it has somewhat of a coffee taste to it.
Oh, interesting. Roasted dandelion?
Roasted dandelion has and so I don't drink coffee, but I do drink roasted dandelion, and then I add all my little creamer things that I like. I add it to it so it can make it.
I'm going to have to check that out for sure.
My children are like, you come up with the most creative things. I'm like, listen, when I had tasted, I was like, I didn't even know you could do this.
Well, I want you to tell us a little bit about your businesses that you have started, because you're an entrepreneur, and you also have a show as well, the Angelica, I call you both names, Angelica Love show. So tell us, we hear all of this wealth of knowledge, but you also are this incredible businesswoman and CEO and entrepreneur. So share about this. And you're a homeschool mom, which I am as well. So another thing we share in common. But tell us about this other side of you.
Well, I'd love to share this. So we have we have more than a couple. So we have All Loves Publishing Company, which is basically, that is the company that we're birthing now. And that is because we're looking at creating magazines and a magazine for that component.
Okay.
We have All Love Production Company. All Love Production Company is dealing with the production of how we do films, how we do our production for our YouTube, our show. And that's my company, but at the same time, that's more of my son's company, because my son is in the film and directing. So I figured it would be a family thing to do together. And so we came with All Love Production. And then other than that, we also have C Production within that. That's all of his stuff. And so I just work with that. And that's my studio. We completely turned our home into a studio. So each part of our house is a studio, because we also have it's Love's Kitchen, and Love's Kitchen is where we create vegan plant-based meals, but it's a twist with the vegan and plant-based meals, is because we do not use dairy. Okay, of course we don't use dairy, but we don't use nuts. We don't use any form of nuts in our products. We don't use wheat in none of our products. Because I have a child who has a sensitivity to all 7 food allergens. So we had to change up everything, and we don't cook with any soy. But in Love's Kitchen, it's not just that it's a kitchen, it's our pharmacy. It's also our laboratory, because we also make all of our products. And we make soaps, lotions, we make body creams, we make anything for people who have sensitivities, who would love to use certain products, but they will never be able to use because of the sensitivities they have to, maybe because the product might have some type of soy in it, or it might have some type of nut in it that they, because sometimes when you look at the words on the labels, they change the words and they put them in their Latin name. And if you're not familiar with the Latin name, you might use something that you have a sensitivity to. So my daughter has a sensitivity to nuts, so she can never use shea butter. And so in a lot of vegan products, you have shea butter. Well, we can't use that. So we had to find an alternative for that, because that was a component. And so then we also have All Love's Herbal Company, because we also make products. I'm a 7th and 8th generational medicine woman. And so within that, we make all of our herbal products. But my whole life shifted to have all the companies that we do have, is because it all boiled around my family. What was the best things for them? What could they have and what they couldn't have, and what they could do and what they couldn't do. And so it just made it simple. When I started finding out there were so many families out there and parents that had children who had sensitivities. And I'm like, your child, and it's so funny. We were sitting at a restaurant. It's called Pomegranate here in Phoenix, Arizona. And my children, we'd order our meal, and they really looked, they know all her food allergies. So they make sure that there's no cross-contamination. And where we were sitting at this table next to us was this lady, a family that just flew in from Canada. This was about a couple years ago. And she was telling me how she was challenging going through certain things because she had overheard our order. And she said, I'm going through the same thing with my little one. Her daughter at that time was 14 months old. And she said, I don't know what to do. She said, she can't have eggs. She can't have this. And she said, how do you do it? And I'm like, well, I've been dealing with this since my daughter, since I was 6 weeks pregnant with her. Well, to find out is because of certain things that happened in my body, living in a stressful environment, I created certain things within my womb that unconsciously I didn't know, that also affected her, certain aspects of certain things that she was able to do. Okay. And so the time she was 2 weeks old, at 2 weeks old, we knew that she couldn't have dairy, because we tried to give her Infamil, and she wound up turning blue on me because she was having an allergic reaction. So by the time she was 14 months old, we knew all of her food allergies, and then certain ones that she grew into. And so I was able to sit down and have conversations with people, with parents, about, okay, this is what you can do. This is the alternative. So that's where Love's Kitchen came about. And then the herbal company came because there was a lot of people who wanted to get into doing herbs, but because they had certain things in them that they couldn't do, we created a company to accommodate those families.
That's amazing. Wow. And then on top of it, you have your show.
And I have the Angelica Love Show. And so the Angelica, make me laugh when I say it because I love it. So the Angelica Love Show is a place where we teach tools that you and I both need to live better, to create a better life, as well as achieve our greatest goals in all areas of life. And we have topics that we talk about. We have a range of topics that we talk about. And within that, we bring different people in to talk about things that you can do to live better, basically to open up yourself to your hidden potential. Or what is your health? Or what about something that you really want to know about your health, or about love, or those components. And that's what Angelica Love Show is about.
Oh, and that is, where do people find that? Is that on YouTube?
No, it's not on YouTube anymore. It's now going to be, you can look up I Am Angelica.
Okay.
On Facebook, you can find I Am Angelica.love. If you find that, then you will find where that show is at.
Perfect. And I have all that information in the description for you, so you don't have to try to, replay or say that again. We have it all written down for you, so you can find that. Well, our time is winding down, and I wish that we had like another 6 hours, seriously, because this has been so rich. Is there anything in closing that you didn't get to say that you want to make sure that you get it in there?
You know what? There is something I do say. I say this to everyone because I love asking this question. And it's just for food for thought. Just a food for thought question. Okay?
Okay.
Think about this. How far will we have to go into the future to see the difference that you make by the action that you take today, tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, to live your greatest version of yourself? Because you living the greatest version of yourself gives someone else the courage and the wisdom and the power to do the same. So how far will we have to go into the future to see the difference that you make? Just think about it.
That is so powerful. And what a beautiful ending. Well, I have pages of notes here, my friend. Pages.
Oh, this is so fun.
And I
Hey,
want to also say that I'm very familiar with heart math. I've done a lot of work with them. In fact, at our church, I taught a whole series on that and went out and I actually found people to interview that had had heart transplants, to hear their stories because there were such amazing things there. So I appreciated you bringing that up and Dr. Emoto and all that. This is so powerful to have somebody come in and be a bookend of things that I talk about and that I teach. And that's one of the reasons why I just love you so much, my dear. You're just,
love you too, Pamela.
I
Thank you.
love what you
Oh,
reflect and what you stand for.
thank
And so
you.
I
Thank you.
know all of you here today, listeners, you need to go check her out. Go to her website, go check out her show, find her, push the like button, be her friend. And learn, and you will be so glad that you did. And Angelica and I have things in the future that we have on our hearts to do together. So no doubt you will see us hooked up again. I told my husband, I said, she is the pepper of me and I am her salt.
Thank you for allowing me to share and allow me to be able to come and communicate with your community. This has been an honor, a privilege, and indeed a pleasure. And I am so grateful for it and appreciative of it. This has been definitely fun. I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Me
Every
too.
bit, and I'm looking forward. And I say I'm looking forward to all the things that we have coming together. We're going to be working on together. So this is exciting to be able to share. So thank you.
Yes, it is. Thank you for being here. And listeners, thank you for tuning in again. Remember, you are the salt and the light everywhere you go. Thank you
Much
for
love to
coming
you.
in today. Be a blessing.
Much love.
Much love from Angelica Love. Bye, everyone.